In 1884, one of the most influential minds in modern psychology prescribed a drug he believed was a miracle cure to his dying friend. A drug he was also using himself daily. With growing enthusiasm, he ordered it from a pharmaceutical company. He tested it in his lab. He wrote glowing reviews about its potential. He recommended it to patients. He took it when he felt tired, anxious, or depressed. He was convinced it could cure addiction, boost strength, and revolutionize medicine. This is how Sigmund Freud's cocaine experiment killed Ernst von Fleischl-Marxow. Welcome back to the lab, my curious test subjects. Today we are diving into one of the most tragically ironic experiments in medical history. A story about good intentions, terrible science, and a friendship that ended in catastrophe. Because, in 1884, Freud did not yet understand the unconscious mind, dream analysis or psychotherapy. But he did understand one thing with absolute certainty. Cocaine was the future, and he was about to prove it on his best friend. Let me set the stage for you. In the spring of 1884, Dr. Ernst von Fleischl-Marxow was a brilliant Viennese physician, researcher, colleague, and one of Freud's closest friends. He was performing an autopsy when his right thumb became infected. The infection spread, the thumb had to be amputated, and then things got worse. After the surgery, Fleischl-Marxow developed traumatic neuromas, painful nerve growths at the amputation site. Imagine phantom limb pain, except the nerves are real, angry, and growing back wrong. The pain was constant, unbearable. So his doctors did what doctors did in 1884. They gave him morphine, first to manage the pain, then to manage the addiction. By the time Freud was watching his friend deteriorate, Fleischl-Marxow was trapped in a cycle of agony and opioid dependence, with no clear way out. Now, Freud was desperate to help. And at the exact same time, he was reading something fascinating. A German army physician named Dr. Theodor Aschenbrandt had been giving cocaine, provided by the pharmaceutical company Merck, to soldiers in the field. And he noticed something interesting. The soldiers had more endurance. They felt stronger. They performed better. Freud also read reports from other physicians claiming that cocaine could cure morphine addiction. Spoiler, it did not cure morphine addiction. Think of it like reading a supplement ad claiming this one weird trick cures everything. Except the supplement was cocaine and the physician was Freud. So what exactly was Freud reading that made him think cocaine was the answer? In medical ethics terms, that means cocaine was completely unregulated. No trials, no oversight, no understanding of addiction mechanisms. Just enthusiasm and a pharmaceutical company willing to ship it. In April 1884, Freud made his move. He encouraged Fleischl-Marxow to try cocaine to build up his strength and fight the morphine addiction. And because Freud was a scientist, he also ordered cocaine from Merck for himself. He began taking it by mouth. And the results? Extraordinary. It energized him. It lifted his spirits. It made him feel sharper, faster, more alive. He loved it. Now you might be wondering, did Freud see any warning signs? Not even a little. He was too busy running experiments. He used a dynamometer, a device that measures muscular power, to test whether cocaine increased strength or improved reaction time. He reviewed the work of scientists, most now forgotten, who had also experimented with cocaine. He was impressed by descriptions of its mild stimulant and antidepressant effects. Mild, completely safe, obviously. He wrote glowing recommendations. He suggested cocaine as a treatment for morphine addiction, alcohol addiction, fatigue, depression, you name it. Freud was essentially running a clinical trial with a sample size of 2, himself and his dying friend, with zero oversight. In medical ethics terms, that means cocaine was completely unregulated. And here is where it gets even more interesting. In September 1884, one of Freud's colleagues, ophthalmologist Carl Kohler, took the idea further. Kohler used cocaine to anesthetize the eyes of animals, then his own eyes, then his colleagues' eyes. The experiment worked. He developed cocaine-assisted cataract surgery. Painless. Groundbreaking. Kohler became internationally celebrated for the achievement. Meanwhile, Freud, energized, optimistic. taking it daily. Subject 2. Fleischl-Marxow. Still in pain, still on morphine, now also on cocaine. So what actually happened to Fleischl-Marxow? He kept using morphine. He also kept using cocaine. Freud had hoped the cocaine would replace the morphine. In medical ethics terms, that means cocaine was completely unregulated. And Freud had no framework to understand that he was not curing addiction, he was compounding it. In 1885, Freud tried to expand his cocaine work. He attempted to treat trigeminal neuralgia, a painful facial nerve condition, with injected cocaine. The treatment failed, possibly due to Freud's lack of surgical skill, possibly because cocaine was not the miracle he thought it was. Not great, as you might have guessed. But Freud kept using cocaine himself. He took it by mouth for years, mainly as a stimulant when he felt depressed or anxious. And his friend, Fleischl-Marxow, continued to suffer. Imagine trying to cure a caffeine addiction by adding energy drinks. Except both substances were opioids and stimulants destroying your body simultaneously. The pain never stopped. The morphine dependence never broke. The cocaine just added another layer of chemical chaos. Year 1, hopeful. Year 2, concerning. Year 3, dire. Year 7, dead. Ernst von Fleischl-Marxow died in 1891. He was addicted to both drugs. Freud had wanted to save him. Instead, he had given him a second addiction to carry to the grave. And here is the truly dark irony, my curious test subjects. Freud would go on to become one of the most famous figures in psychology, pioneering psychoanalysis, exploring the unconscious, revolutionizing how we think about the human mind. But in 1884, he was just a young doctor with access to an unregulated substance, absolute confidence in his own judgment, and a dying friend who trusted him completely. And all it took was 7 years of suffering, 2 overlapping addictions, and one of history's most famous psychologists convinced that a drug he was using himself was somehow the cure. Science. Freud eventually moved away from cocaine. He never spoke much about Fleischl-Marxow in his later writings, perhaps because the experiment was too painful to revisit, perhaps because it did not fit the narrative of the brilliant mind who unlocked the secrets of the psyche. But the truth is this: even geniuses can be catastrophically wrong when they confuse enthusiasm with evidence, when they experiment on the people they love, and when they lack the framework to understand the very thing they are trying to fix. Cocaine was not a miracle. It was not a cure. It was just another addiction. And Fleischl-Marxow paid the price. If this experiment fascinated you, my curious test subjects, hit that subscribe button. There are plenty more where this came from. Until next time, stay curious, stay skeptical, and for the love of science, never let your doctor prescribe you something they are also using recreationally.